what I've noticed is, without any bias, I would hope, is that I've noticed that students, well, in my observation, who is from our field, who at some point, as you say, decide, you know what, maybe the research is not for me.
Yeah.
I want to enter the industry.
Yes.
They are very employable. I know a lot of examples actually, where students who studied astrophysics or astronomy actually decide they want to go into industry, and they get employed almost immediately, and they get these nice high-paying jobs. And
we're talking about everything that relates to astrophysics, astrology, and stuff like that. You know, after your talk yesterday, I was asking about these things of zodiac signs.
yes,
You know,
yes.
as if like, what do you guys think about them and stuff? But we're gonna get into that. But just introduce yourself and maybe what you do.
Yeah, so my name is Warren Naidoo. I am an astronomer, or more specifically a cosmologist. So what that entails is the study of the universe as a whole. So what it's made up of, where it came from, and where it will go one day. So that's my entire study in a summary. What got me into this is just that I feel like our species has always been fascinated with the stars.
Yeah.
From the earliest recordings of history, you can look at our ancient civilizations. They've always been fascinated with the night sky.
Yeah.
Because we looked up into the stars and we saw a reflection of ourselves. We saw this grand scheme. There's these dark voids, this expanse of the universe, and these beautiful stars. What are they? What's out there?
Yeah.
And what is our place in this massive thing, you know?
Yeah.
And so ever since then, we've been building, and we've developed engineering and monuments and pyramids to reflect the stars, just because we've wondered what is our place in this cosmic mystery. And then that got me from a very young age. So I wanted to be a part of this age-old study of the universe. Yeah.
Yeah. So when you are done with this thing, you become what, an astronomer?
Yeah, I mean, technically, but okay. So studying in South Africa, it's complicated in terms of the official degree programs.
Yeah.
As universities go through. So, for example, in UKZN, our astronomy department is situated in the mathematics department, actually.
Oh, okay.
So my degree will officially say a PhD applied mathematics. But for all intensive purposes, my research is cosmology/astronomy. So I can be called an astronomer, cosmologist. But technically, my degree would say applied mathematics.
So you spoke a lot about stars.
Yes.
So when you study the universe, are you studying the stars, the solar system? Just elaborate on that.
So there is this division, or not division, or this partition in astronomy. So you get the astrophysics, then you get the cosmology.
Yeah.
Now the astrophysics, they deal with the objects. So they will study stars, for example.
Okay.
What are stars doing?
Yeah.
They will study black holes. What are black holes doing?
Yeah.
But if you can think, that's on a smaller scale. Those are specific objects.
Yeah.
My work on cosmology is more outside the view. So if you were in the jungle, for example,
Yeah.
some people would want to go straight to the elephant and observe the elephant.
Yeah.
That's an astrophysics
Yeah.
job.
Yeah.
But then if you step back right out and look at the whole jungle and appreciate the whole view and see what exactly the topology or how the jungle is, changing from left to right. Now that's cosmology. So you step out and then you look at how all the galaxies are distributed, how all the stars are distributed. And then from that you try and make a statistical model of, okay, if the distribution is following this path across time and space, then it means the universe follows these mathematical laws. It means the universe is constrained by this model.
So basically, mathematics is more like your way of actually understanding these concepts.
Yes.
Oh wow! So now I know a lot of students actually who do astrophysics, and most of them actually always ask me this question about the career opportunities after graduating, because it doesn't look like a corporate thing. It looks like it's a research intensive sort of course. and stuff like that. What are the opportunities for someone who has done astrophysics or cosmology?
Yeah, I mean, so I guess it's two-sided, this question. What I've noticed is, without any bias, I would hope, is that I've noticed that students, well, in my observation, who is from our field, who at some point, as you say, decide, you know what, maybe the research is not for me.
Yeah.
I want to enter the industry.
Yes.
They are very employable. I know a lot of examples actually, where students who studied astrophysics or astronomy actually decide they want to go into industry, and they get employed almost immediately, and they get these nice high-paying jobs and live the life. And with that, the reason is in this field it's broad in terms of what you need to know.
Oh.
It's not confined, meaning oftentimes you learn skills in not just mathematics and analysis, which is very important to banks and insurance companies, etc.
Sure.
But you also learn coding skills.
Oh.
So then there's companies who are like, oh no, this person can also write code too. So there's analysis, coding, and data analysis, and so yeah, they're very employable on that side. But initially, it is just meant to be a research a field. But you learn so many skills that's so useful. Like even in our own department at the moment, our department is working with the city of Itequeni actually. So they have the subdivision called Create, where they're working. So the astronomy department is working with the city to solve data challenges that the city has. So there's people from the medicine field, there's people from Mr. Price, the clothing company, and etc. sends us data, and we will run models and analyze the data for them, which is a non-profit thing that our Astro department is doing. So you can see the utility of the things we create from the skills in this field. Yeah.
So this is quite interesting because I also know someone who has done astrophysics at VETS, who's now working for one of the banks.
Yes.
And then she was telling me that actually when you do these courses like astrophysics and stuff, there is a certain way of thinking that somehow you are trained in, but as a student you don't see that. Like I guess like problem solving skills, analytical skills and stuff like that. Do you concur with that?
No, absolutely. Like I mean, I guess the best way to phrase this would be to be specific, without mentioning names. But there was a close friend of mine who studied with me undergrad.
Yeah.
And then he was employed by the bank, and not to throw shade on any particular field, but he was very quickly promoted to manager. And then in a few years, while like I was still doing my masters, he was the guy who was interviewing my other friends who was going. And then one of the main reasons for that is exactly what you said. He studied, maths and stats and physics with me. So his analytical skills is the thing that the company that hired him was very impressed about.
Yeah.
It was just more than just knowing ABC. He was solving problems for them that they didn't know they even needed solving. So you see, that's the impressive stuff that we learned here.
Yeah. So you are saying you're done with your PhD?
Yes.
What was your PhD on?
So my PhD was on, so what I was saying before, cosmology. So, okay, it's very interesting for our country specifically because, so at the moment we have the biggest radio telescope in the world, the MeerKAT telescope. There's no country in the world that has a better telescope in the radio than us.
Yeah.
And in a few more years, when SKA will come, which is basically MeerKAT will have more dishes that will become SKA, then we will have still the biggest telescope in the world, but even more bigger, on a bigger scale. So it's interesting to say, what can we do with this, surveys that measure neutral hydrogen? So the aim is, if you measure where hydrogen falls in the universe, you measure where all the stuff falls. And this is because gravity attracts, right? Yeah. So if there is stuff somewhere, it will pull hydrogen or anything towards it. So the way we phrase this is, wherever the hydrogen falls, that's where the gravity is, that's where all the stuff is.
Yeah.
So we measure the universe, the whole universe, see where the hydrogen is, and in that way we say, okay, this is where the structure lies. Then we statistically analyze that structure. And then from that, like I said earlier, we pull out the parameters that need to be refined in the mathematical model of the universe to say, oh, this is exactly the model. So in that way, if for example, a theorist is
Yeah.
making a new model of the universe
Yeah.
with general relativity or some extension,
Yeah.
we can say, you know what, according to what we observe, your model either is very good or we need to exclude it because it just doesn't reflect reality.
So to the students who are studying astrophysics, astronomy, cosmology, you being through the whole process and even having done your PhD on the study, what advice can you sort of give to those students?
Yeah, advice. I mean, first and foremost, you can relate to this is you have to have a passion
Yeah.
For this field, especially if you want to do it as a research academic level.
Sure.
If you don't have the passion for this, then you're not going to really give it your all.
Yeah.
And actually, that's a general statement because it holds true for everything. Do what you're more passionate about. So my advice would be, if you really want to do this, don't do it because it sounds cool.
Yeah.
Don't do it because you think it's a status quo.
Yeah.
Do it because you've really been moved
Yeah.
by this field. Like it calls you.
Yeah.
Like you're not calling astrophysics to you.
Yeah.
It must call you
Yeah.
to it. So you must have a calling to it, and then it's just that put your head down and focus
Yeah.
when you get there.
Yeah.
And then it will pay off. Trust me. I have this experience. Like I've come from a poor background. I've never traveled in my life before I got here.
Sure.
And ever since I started studying, I had a bursary eventually and stuff. I've been on so many flights now, I cannot remember the number. And to me, it's like a milestone because I've never left the province. I've never had the
Yeah.
means.
Yeah.
And now I've been overseas
Yeah.
many times. I've been all around this beautiful country.
Yeah.
And it's through astrophysics. So that's what I
Yeah.
say. When you get there initially, undergrad, put your head down and make sure you do your best. And
Yeah.
then you will see the rewards. You will definitely see the rewards come as you grow.
You were telling us earlier on about your trip to Switzerland. What are some of the interesting places that you've went to and you're like, wow?
Yeah, I mean, Switzerland is one of those
Yeah.
extremely beautiful. I went to many places. So
Yeah.
So when I went to Switzerland, one of the interesting things is I've been to Geneva and then Zurich. So one is the French side, one is the German side.
Oh yeah.
So you get this experience of the cultures.
Sure.
The French and the Swiss cheese
Yeah.
and one was very interesting. We also got to, so the work we work on. One of our collaborators, a few of our collaborators are from Switzerland. So that's why we got to go
Yeah.
there. And one of them actually works in CERN.
Yeah.
So CERN is this particle
Yeah,
accelerator,
yeah.
the massive, one of the most famous ones. So we got to visit CERN, which was unbelievably cool because, if you love science, so you've always watching documentaries
Yeah,
or reading.
yeah.
So for the longest time, I've just seen CERN on movies and
Yeah,
documentaries.
yeah,
And then
yeah.
Actually standing out there, I had to pinch myself. I'm
Yeah.
like, am I really here?
Yeah,
It was
yeah.
unbelievable. And then, we took that train from Geneva to Zurich, and then it's these little things you appreciate. Like,
Yeah.
this is like you're there, like I can't believe I'm here, because you think about where you come from,
sure.
and I'm like, I'm here,
Yeah. Sure.
cutting across the country, and then Zurich, and then I went to New York last year for a month. Unbelievable, everything paid for.
Yeah.
The hotel costed over 200,000 rand,
Yeah.
which is more than what I get paid for my PhD.
Sure.
But that was paid for
Yeah.
completely by the people from the US, and
Sure.
and it was like on a main road of Manhattan, like very prestigious. Like when people see people like myself walking, they're like, "Is this guy lost? Or
Yeah.
is he the right way?" That's what I mean. Like the benefits of being in this field, if you work hard on undergrad and get to a place where you can achieve these things, you would never regret it. It's unbelievable. Yeah.
So there is more funding into this field, right?
There's tons of funding into
Yeah.
this field. It depends on what exactly research you do. But like I mentioned, because now South Africa has the biggest telescope project in the world, SKSA, which is rebranded to SREO, they've been unbelievable with the amount of PhDs, undergrads, and even engineering and just computer science people that they've funded throughout the years. It's and then NRF, etc. There's tons of funding, and then globally also.
Yeah.
But like personally, I've witnessed with the SKA, it's unbelievable the amount of opportunities if you're willing to study hard and work.
So do you think that for astrophysics, astronomy, cosmology, is it important to do your postgrad, or you can just have the degree, or you should do your honors, your masters, and your PhD?
So that is it would depend. I would say it is very important. Obviously, if to be an academic, you have to go through the full process, do your master's, honors, PhD, and become an academic, and then grow. But that being said, a lot of people decide to move out. You can get internships. For example, I know a lot of people who did astrophysics just at undergrad or honors, and then they decided they want to take a few years to become a telescope operator, or get an internship at Sereo or one of the telescopes, etc. And then sometimes they just stay there. They don't really want to come back into masters because they're happy just being working in the field, for example. So it's not specifically necessary. But if you want to do research, then it is. So it depends on a person.
So for someone who doesn't want to go into the academic route, is it possible just to maybe have your undergrad and still go, I don't know, in the industry or work in the field?
No, of course. I mean, you can go into industry definitely. Like I mentioned, like you can work at the banks or the insurance companies for sure. In the field, so what I mentioned, you would have to then apply yourself to be a telescope operator or a field technician, which is really cool. I mean, some people get to travel to Marine Island and then live there for a year and get tons of money, and then all they have to do is just make sure the telescope is running and stuff. So you can, but it just depends on whether you're willing to do those types of.
I've heard about, you also just spoke about it right now, the MeerKAT thing and also the SKA. Can you tell us a bit more about those?
It's quite an unbelievable story. So MeerKAT is actually fully South African.
Okay.
That was like our way of showing the world that, SKA is going to be the biggest telescope ever built. Be the biggest ever, and it's tons of money. That's international. It's an international partnership. So MeerKAT was our way to show the world that, we can do it. So MeerKAT is fully South African. And at the moment, MeerKAT is the biggest and best radio telescope in the world. And if you Google the images and the results from MeerKAT, it's unbelievable what MeerKAT is doing. MeerKAT is doing such beautiful science, and it's purely South African. That makes you proud as a South African. It's interesting because so the story goes, when South Africa made the bid for SKA, we only had 2 radio astronomers in the country.
2?
Yeah, or 2 or 3. So people were like, these guys are insane. But through those, the skills that those guys had with liaising, they somehow managed to get the bid, because we have nice locations in this country for radio astronomy. So the Karoo side, very low RFI because there's not much people. It's a desert, so there's not much, and the atmosphere is clear. So it's brilliant to do radio astronomy. But they work very hard, and it was like 2 or 3 radio astronomers when they won the bid in, I don't know if it was 2004 or prior, and now there's must be over 200 radio astronomers. So you can see how they've built. It's impressive to see that development, and then we're going to have the biggest telescope in the world. So and solving these problems are much more than just astronomy. So as I mentioned briefly, these telescopes will have a bigger data rate than the entire continent's usage of the internet. So then this opens up data challenges. We have to learn how to efficiently analyze the data quickly. So what this allows us to do is we develop techniques that industries are very interested in, because there's companies that would be very interested in using those efficient codes, for example, in their companies to solve their problems. So big data challenges is one of the prime things that's coming out of this SKA MeerKAT thing.
And just in closing, yesterday you were speaking about I can't remember your topic in full of your presentation, but it has to do with observational
cosmology.
So there is a thing, there's a thing, about star signs and that stuff. I don't know if that's, but yesterday I was told that actually there is an astrology.
Yes.
Yes,
astrology.
But it's a big thing, there are people who would say, no, I can't date so and so because maybe I'm a Sagittarius and then she's a Leo, and then the two star signs.
Compatible.
So like those type of things. Actually, I'm just asking you about the intersection of what you guys do with real life, if there is anything that perhaps you can share on those things.
Listen, I mean, being in the field, I've learned to humble myself, firstly, meaning not to immediately shun things off because
Yeah.
you never know.
Oh, yeah.
That being said, so from our field, we don't, I mean, we just study, we just look, we try to make mathematical relations. So in that case, if you're looking at it from that perspective, these star signs are just arbitrary things that the ancient peoples drew on
Sure.
the sky. Because,
Sure.
for example, like those stars seem to line up when we look at them in the sky.
Sure.
But in reality, the distances between those stars along the line of sight is vast. So they're not even near each other at all. We've just drawn them. But that being said, one cannot fully discount any of these things because, like I've learned, there was an ancient tribe in Africa called the Dogon culture.
I've
The
heard about
Dogon,
them,
yes,
yeah.
they were but west of Egypt.
Yeah.
A long time ago, they had many of their writings on walls. Some of them were related to quantum physics. One of them, which interested me, was they always described Sirius. I think it was Sirius, or one of the I think it's Sirius, as a two-star system.
Okay.
Thousands of years ago.
What is Sirius?
Sirius
is a star.
it seems to be a single star. I hope I'm not mistaken, but I think Sirius is the one that they wrote about. But if you look closely, it's Sirius A and Sirius B. It's actually a binary star system.
Yeah.
So what people have learned is actually they wrote about this thousands of years ago.
Sure.
And we've only discovered it recently. So I've learned to not immediately close your mind on everything. But I can say from our point of view, we don't intersect them because we just look at these objects and we assume no relation and then start it. But yeah, there's a lot of people who like to draw, and I guess I started my interview with that. It's like we've always looked at the stars and saw a reflection of ourselves, and what is our place in it.
Yeah.
So I cannot say that people cannot look at that amazing night sky and not be moved, or feel a connection, or feel like their inner spirit is controlled by the way the motion of the stars is. I cannot say that. So it is two different topics, but you know, each person will find their own.
Okay, no, Warren Naidoo, thank you so much
Thank you so much for having
your
me.
time, and I think you've shed a lot of light about what you do and astrophysics, astronomy, and cosmology, and it will go a long way.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. It was a pleasure.
Sure.
Thanks, Shap.